What's up, everybody? It's Joe from Lion Network here. I'm here with Jerry Cavendish Agar, an A&R for Origins Inconclusive. Here to talk about how the music industry actually works and how you can get your sound noticed. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Jerry Cavendish Agar, and welcome to Linen.
So, Jerry, for those who don't know you and what you do, could you just go into a bit of detail about yourself?
Yeah, so I work in A&R, and I've been working in A&R for the past, I'd say, 4 months for a company a record label called Origins Inconclusive, and now sort of finished my internship late February, and now I'm looking to build with them and work sort of freelance with them and build something bigger with them, hopefully.
Brilliant. And for those who don't know what A&R specifically is, could you go into a little bit of detail about it?
So I mean, A&R, it's one of them which it's probably the hardest thing to define with a lot of people that do it, because everyone sort of has a different way of seeing it. I mean, the way I see it is it's scouting out artists, this are music artists, and seeing if they fit your identity, your brand, and what you think is amazing, and helping them build that and helping them grow with you and with your label.
So that's sort of involving getting people on board, checking that they fit the bill essentially, and sort of helping them move forward, put things out, production, maybe putting them in touch with people.
Yeah. So a lot of it. I mean, the thing with music and A&R, it's a lot about the people you meet. It's a lot about the connections that you have, and so it's making sure that people fit. So when you're A&R for a record label, it's making sure that they fit what your record label is looking at. So they may be a great artist, but they could be in a complete wrong genre to what your record label is looking at. And then once you have the artist, it's about sort of fitting them in with where you think they would work, which obviously can go wrong. It can go very right, but sort of looking at their brand, their identity, their music, and going, right, I think you'd work really well with this, or I think you'd really work well with this producer I know, or so that. And so that's sort of helping them grow quite a lot, or a different marketing strategy that you sort of bring to them.
And when you're searching for new talent, what is something that you look out for in an artist?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the music is a big side of it. I mean, I think with the music, it's tough. I think that the advice I've got from a lot of people senior and sort of my age as well is you want to know that an artist is exceptional, but there are so many artists out there, and there are so many that are exceptional. So it means that now you sort of look at it, and you want to you want to see the brand, you want to see the identity, you want to see that they know that they are going forward as well. And so you don't go in there and they don't really have a clue what they're doing. They don't really know what they're doing, and they're just releasing music. They have got to as well have a little bit about them, and that they know their project, so you can just add in and help with that project.
And social media is obviously a big thing for modern music and promotion and releases. Everything in the business
Mm.
is now social media, social media. How important are platforms maybe like TikTok, Spotify, SoundCloud, Instagram for you when you're discovering some of these emerging artists?
They at the moment they're probably the biggest. It's sort of when you see artists and they have good music, but they aren't releasing on TikTok, or they aren't releasing on Spotify, or they aren't releasing on Instagram, or they're not really doing any of that. They're not really engaging the fans. You immediately can't go for them because they've not got that side of them, and people won't see them. And it's all about people seeing you, and then when they see you, they see you. And that's what Instagram and TikTok should be, is you should be posting your music and promoting that, but also have a bit about your identity, because people may look at that and go, well, they're releasing this, they've got good marketing, but they also do this little bit where you can see who they are as a person. You can see their identity and how that is progressing with each song and with each year.
So you think that authenticity in presenting yourself as an artist super, super important?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think there's sort of authenticity, and I think just, I mean, I believe that just being yourself um, is a huge thing. Kind of when you're an artist, you need to be yourself, but a bit more. I think that you need to, because you're on stage, you are the eye. People are looking at you, and so you've got to be that person that people look at and go, yeah, I really kind of get along with that person, not in face to face, but just for a camera, you get along with someone like an influencer. You need to be that, but then you need to add that bit of like overdoing it sometimes a little bit, just so people, because that's how people really attach themselves onto someone.
I guess building a persona,
Yeah,
building a sort of
yeah.
maybe an expanded idea of what you are and what you want to do. Would you agree with that as as an important thing? And do you feel like social media is a good way to accentuate that?
Yeah, yeah, I think social media is it's such a good way of doing it, and it's and I mean everyone I've spoken to that's sort of been senior and they were around, you know, the 2000s period, thousand period of A&R, it was very different. You wouldn't have this social media look at. You would just go there basically for the music. But now social media it is such a big part of it. Like if your song can go viral and people then go onto your Instagram and they see you and you are someone that they then go that they then feel, I don't know, like, you know, that connection, that persona, and it's a sort of same thing. And they go, "Oh, I really like this person." They're going to follow you on Instagram. You could have a song blow up and do, you know, when I'm saying blow up, it could get 100,000 listens. That's still really amazing for a young artist. Um, you then need them to go on and follow you. They then need to be a fan. But just one song so many times, they then don't come back and listen. And then you sort of go back down and then of course you get deflated and then you need to find a way to get it back up. So that's why I think if you have a brand there, if you have a persona and that is on social media, so much more people will want to follow you.
I guess it increases that long-term traction.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you haven't released anything in a month or 2 months or whatever the time period is, but the social media can keep you in people's frame of view. You know, people are going to look down TikTok, people are going to look down Instagram, and
Yeah.
maybe they get a notification about your new release on Spotify.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think that branding is super important as well as that authenticity?
I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, it's sort of the way it is now. With artists is I think that that marketing side of it is that marketing and brand side of it is such a big thing. I mean, you can see how sort of artists change from when they were not very big to when they get big and they get to a bigger. I mean, that's what big labels do very well. They have incredibly smart people in there that can turn your persona and your brand into something that everyone loves. And they can do it like that. It will be you, but it will be you, but better in a way, which
It'll be
is,
like a more polished, more,
yeah,
I
exactly.
guess,
Yeah.
enhanced version
Yeah.
of sort of what you are as an artist,
Yeah.
essentially. I want to just jump into a couple of questions about A&R, working at Origins, and sort of what the career path is. How did you first get into A&R?
So I first got into A&R by, well, I'd say probably last year. I've always sort of wanted to go into music. I've always loved music. But I finished well, I didn't finish it. I quit uni. And then I was in this place where I was doing landscaping for work. And I sort of didn't see that as my career. I was like, good bit of work, but that's not my career. What do I love? And that's when my friends helped me out and said, why don't you look into what you love in music? And that's why I thought, yes, but how do you get into music? And I thought that was impossible, you know. And then I did a bit of research, spoke to a couple of people, and I found out that you can get in with A&R, you can do a bit of artist management, you can become an agent, you can go into marketing, and you don't need to get a degree at uni. You don't need to go out there and buy a million courses. You don't need to go there. You can go and get work experience somewhere and just build your way up. And so that's when probably October, maybe September, October last year. And I thought, right, I'm just going to email labels and see where I get to. And I saw this, and I saw Origins, and I saw they were quite a young label, quite it seemed a hungry label. So I thought I'd give them an email. And luckily, the guy that runs the label gave me an email back and said, "Yeah, we'd take you on a little internship, bit of work experience, and see how you get on." And so that's how I got into it.
So this was always something you wanted to do, but you didn't necessarily know how to navigate that.
Mm.
Um, Obviously, going for a big job at a company like Sony is
Yeah, you're not.
probably a
Yeah,
little bit unattainable for a lot of people,
no.
especially with zero experience.
Yeah,
Um, would you say that stepping into Origins is something that's A, giving you the confidence, B, giving you the experience, and C, giving you the skills that you need to sort of build yourself as, I guess, a significant industry member?
yeah, I think it has. I think that when you work for a smaller label at first, and when you're in there, you can see how everyone in there works. A lot of labels, especially when you have the big labels, you have such separate, you know, divisions in there. and you rarely bump into each other. And so it's good from my point of view because I get to work closely with everyone in there and I get to see how it all happens, and how and just how it all gets along. And I think that's important. And as well, I think to help, because you have to independently sort of create your own connections in a way. I think that when you go to a big label, you have so many connections there. You don't really need to go out there. When you're in a small label, you have to go and meet other people. You have to go and talk to other people to get known of their experience and to build your connections by yourself. And so I think that builds you as a character and that builds you in music as well.
So again, authenticity is a big part of that, and presenting yourself, as presenting yourself as a bit of a pillar of the industry.
Mm,
Say, I'm from XYZ label, we like your sound, yada yada. Um, and find these people, that quite leads well into my next question. What are some of the biggest skills that you feel like the
mm.
top people at your company possess that you feel is the most important thing for the role?
I think in a way it's the I think the most im I think being, it sounds easy, but being on it, like management skills of being on it. I think that makes a difference between A&Rs and people high up in labels and people low down in labels, is the fact that when you see an artist you like, you don't, and you say someone, I want to sign them, and if they go to, yeah, okay, go have a look at signing them. It's about being quick with it. It's about then in a 24 hours, have you messaged someone? Have you got a date organized to meet them? And then in a week's time, is that contract nearly there? What do they want? What do you want? So it's that sort of getting it over the line. And I think with as well the people in the label, it's also how they manage the artists and how much they're constantly thinking about the artists that are there. And it's sort of all the time it's thinking, you've got a release then, so let's build up that release, right? But I've got a release somewhere over here, so I've got to build that release, and it's always been on it. It's been quick, and it's been effective with the quickness.
You can't just, do a slap bang job and just
Mm.
throw something in just
No.
because really, whilst it has to have a quick turnaround, and whilst it has to, you have to be on it, like you said, with the managing multiple things at once, multitasking, you still have to deliver a high
Yeah.
quality thing. You have to make sure the contract's good. You have to make sure that they're actually going to create good music that's going to benefit you as a label.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think that you've always got to be constantly thinking about that. And I think as well is looking at, does it benefit you as a person? Do you know, as a label and as a person, are you gonna match them? Because and advice from a lot of people is don't rush into signing or trying to sign a bunch of people that may not work with you. Do you know, you need to be able to work with them. You need to be able to get your point across and sort of the characters work. I mean, there are so many times in music where you see where the artist stays with that label or that manager for the whole entire time of their career because they work together so well. And that it creates such a good feeling. And you don't want to start signing people who you aren't going to work well with, or music doesn't match what you actually like or what you know. Because then they're not going to do as well. They're not going to have that good of a time. You're not going to have that good of a time. And music is, goes past quick in 2 years will go down rapid. And 2 years, how many artists would you work with? Not too many, especially when you're small. Not if you're big, you're big, but when you're small, you're not going to work with that many artists. You've got your select amount of artists you work with. It's going to go quick. And if you aren't working with any of them well, then you've got to find people that you work well with.
And in the realm of time constraints, it is a big thing because if you're announcing a release, or you've got an album coming soon, or you're working on something, you need to have content being put out there that says, I'm
Yeah.
active, look at me, please come and stream it when it comes available. Are there any common mistakes, especially with in mind time constraints? Are there any common mistakes you see emerging artists making when they're trying to get noticed by a firm such as yours?
Yeah, I mean, I think some make the mistake of releasing so much because again, you have to release music, but releasing so much music and sort of forgetting about the build up part of it, and sort of forgetting about that now. A&Rs, they're not looking at just the music, and that's unfortunate they're not. But they are looking for that before part. They are looking for that plan. They are looking at that. How are you building it up? They are looking at what live shows you're doing. What traction have you already got? And labels aren't going to go for someone that's, for you category wise are like at the bottom of the pile. And you can release as much music as you want, but they're not going to go for you. And it can be as good as you want, but they're not going to go for you. You've got to remember the behind the scenes part is now very important, especially for labels, because they are going to spend that much money on something, and the deals are now favoring the artists, which is a really good thing. But for the labels, of course, they're gonna go, well, we're gonna be a bit more cautious with who we get on.
And when you look into that, what makes someone signable, I guess, as, because at the end of the day, you're
Mm,
signing them on to create a product, which is the music, and then you both profit off of
yeah.
it. It's a route of collaboration. You talked about there about what makes an artist signable, and it's sort of the branding, the visual identity. Would you say that is more, just as, or less important than the actual music?
Yeah. So I mean, it's a good question. I think it's a difficult one, because when I think the music is still more important. I think you've still got to be releasing good music, but I do think that the amount of music there are released, now you have to have like a 60-40. It can't be well, all we do is music and we don't do anything behind the scenes, because you're not going to get signed. What you have to do is you have to sort of build it up now, and there are a couple artists that have done that really, really well, and I really look at, and I think if you look at a band, I think, called Tooth, that are a really great band. They built up their following on Instagram. They did a lot of live shows, and then they released their first single, and they've got, like nearly, I think, 50,000 listeners, and they've only released 2 singles. But they did all that building up and all that behind the scene work first, and then they've released 2 singles, and people already know about them within the scene. So instead of just getting in there and go bang, 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 here are 10 songs that we've made, and not really, mixing and mastering songs that well, and just releasing, they went, yeah, let's build ourselves up behind the scenes, and then let's release, and that turns into fans before you even have a release, which I think is very smart. It's hard to do. I mean, you have to be good. Again, your music has to be good, but if you believe your music is good, then you can do that building up.
And when you sort of look at an artist and say they're on my list, we could get those on board.
Mm.
What are some sort of markers on social media that you'd be looking for? Is it something like a follower count? Is it follower count combined with sort of how many likes and comments and reposts they might be getting? Is it
Mm.
something else entirely?
I think the comments I'm not the most bothered by, because I think that when you put stuff on Instagram, you get good comments anyway. I think you get a lot of good comments, and so the likes, I don't really look by. The follow accounts you do look at, but I think it's just mainly what they're posting. I think if I look at someone that's got 1,000 followers, but they're posting really cool stuff and really interesting stuff, I'd go, well, there's something there. They have something there. It's not hit off yet. That's a perfect place where we could come in, maybe help them hit off. But it's good stuff. But if they have 3,000 followers, but it's not much being posted and there's not much really going on there, then I'm thinking, well, okay, they've got a decent following, but it's not interesting me in a way.
It has to be engaging not only for
Yeah,
the broader range of the audience, but it also has to be engaging for you. You have to be
yeah.
interested in what they're doing. Do you scout these artists a lot more, or do you get much of success out of people who maybe send you a demo, they send you a submission?
I mean, the submission and demos, it's a tough one, because I mean, you get sent some good stuff, and you write it down and you listen to it. But I mean, I've not really been sent that much. From what I've listened to, it's tough to sort of go through it all. And of course, you note down a couple, but in 50 demos sent, you note down probably 5, and you just note them down, and then you look them up. It's Demos is a tough one. I mean, demos it's a great way of getting your music out there. But I do think that when you listen to the demo, you are then sort of moving over to then what they're doing behind the scenes, as well as the demo. But the demo, if you find a great demo, you note it down, and if you find a demo that's exceptional, you get on it. Any music, what I would say, any music that is exceptional, you immediately, no matter what they're doing behind the scenes, you immediately go, well, we can do the behind the scenes work, but they are exceptional. Exceptional is exceptional. I do believe that there are some bands you listen to or artists and you go, wow, that is really, really good. That is a level above 98% of the bands out there. And you think they are going to be something special. And you sometimes think, what's the likelihood that, they're going to want to work with me? They're going to have, labels all over them. And so, it can be, but that exceptional, but when you find someone exceptional, it's hard to get them because they are exceptional. And it's not only you that thinks that, so many A&Rs are going to see that and they're going to think that's brilliant.
So it's a bit of a, if you don't take it, someone else
Mm.
might,
Yeah.
if it's,
Yeah.
that good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's at the end of the day, good networking, isn't it?
Mm.
Getting yourself out there and saying, hi, I'm here. I've got
Yeah.
this. You might like it. And then you get that response. Networking's a pretty big topic that's discussed in the music industry. What does good networking actually look like in practice?
I don't know how to describe it because you sort of try and network as much as you can, and you sometimes never know if it's going well or if it's going not. I've spoken to so many people, and I think I've networked well, but then I look at it and think, well, maybe if I was a bit more, if I was a bit better, then maybe I would have got that another person's contact out of it, or I would have grown in that way. But I think for networking, for people looking to get into the industry, it's sort of a lot of failing. It's sort of like doing sales in a way. You do a lot of messaging and a lot of emailing and you get absolutely nothing back so much. And lots of people try and meet you and then pull out of it. You could have a time where you agree to meet someone and you're going into London and you go, yeah, I can meet you for a coffee or whatever. And they just never turn up and they go, oh, sorry, I forgot about it. And then they try and reschedule and then they try and reschedule again. And then you realize, right, there's no point in that. And so networking, it's a lot of sort of failing. I mean, the best way I've found is just going to live shows and speaking to people there. And that doesn't always end up with, proper networking, but you speak to these people and you sort of stay in a mind in a way. And people respect you when you're going to live shows and you're actually putting in a lot of the effort. I mean, networking, you have to put in a lot of effort in it. And I think that you do get the reward when you put in effort. But again, it's tough going to live shows when you're not doing it full time. I get that because if you're working differently or you're not in London, it's tough to go to live shows. Like you can't go every day, you know. So I at least try and pick one day a week where I'll go into London and go and watch a show.
Yeah. And we've had this on the podcast before, this idea that there is such a value, although social media is great, and there's these places that you can formally network with people. You can ask for an email, you can ask for a coffee and meet. We've had the value of going to a live show, supporting an artist, and then saying, hi guys, I really liked that. Let's collaborate. There is a significant value in that.
Oh, it's the best.
Is that, yeah. Would you say that that's one of the best things that you can be doing?
Yeah. And the thing is, I need to do it more and I know I need to do it better. But I think you have to go in there and I think you just have to know that you're going there, you're watching a show and you have to speak to people. Do you know? I mean, sometimes it's a struggle because especially if you're driving in there or something, you're not going to drink. So you're not really going to drink and you're going to be a bit, tight and a bit nervous because you're going out on your own. But you get the best thing out of it is when you speak to someone face to face and just naturally in a way meet them and speak to them about their music, speak to them about their project. And you can speak about your project, you can speak about your experience, and you never know, you could get along so well with these artists or this person that works for another label. And that could lead to so many different ways. And if you can do that well, then you can have networking will be so much better for you. But live shows are the best way. I mean, live shows are brilliant. I think they're brilliant. You've seen artists just playing and it's raw because they're younger artists and they're just coming up. And I think it's a great place.
You mentioned there a second ago about other industry people at the events. Now, obviously, you mentioned that in a way of collaboration, of further networking for you sort of personally, but is in terms of someone who's representing the business, do you see the people at a show like that as sort of maybe competitors, as
Mm.
something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I mean, it sort of is competitors, but you're gonna have to. I mean, from what I've learned from speaking to people is you're gonna have to lose sometimes to win because if you see an artist and they are really good and you want to sign them, but you have someone else there who's a bit bigger than you that wants to sign them, they'll most likely get them and you won't. But what you have done is that person recognizes that you have got that taste, that you know what a good artist is. So when you're speaking to them, they're going, well, he's come to see him and he said he's going to go see them or he's going to go see them. But he actually has quite a good taste because I actually really like them as well. And so that can lead to not only, friendly competition in a way, because people are recognizing that your taste is good. I mean, and that's what you want in A&R. You want people to know that you have good taste in music and you have a good ear for it and you can sort of talk about it well and you can explain yourself well. And that's what lots of people in A&R sort of respect. And once you get that respect, it's a lot easier networking, especially when you say, oh, I know that person from there. Yeah, we spoke. And you sort of then build yourself into the community.
So you'd agree that sort of reputation is a big thing. Now, that is a long-term thing because
Yeah.
obviously, so there's other people that have been doing it for 10 years. They've already got that rep. But that reputation also goes for artists, and it being a long-term thing. Say somebody wants to make it their full-time career. What are some things that artists should avoid if they want to build a sustainable long-term?
Well, yeah, I mean, I it just depends. I think it depends who you ask. I think that its reputation is it's very strange because if you look at some artists, you get people that have that really nice, really friendly, and people say they're the nicest people you can speak to. They are the friendliest people. They always speak to everyone there. And you get that great reputation. And that's what a lot of people would say is if you start with that, then you can sort of grow yourself and people love you. So people go into it. But what people also like in a reputation is sometimes a bit of that cocky, a bit of that arrogant reputation that you're nice to people. You have to be nice to people. But you've also got that bit of, that people like that. I don't know the science behind it. I can't give you the psychology around why people like that. But people like someone on stage that's got that arrogancy, that's got that, yes, we're the best. And I quite like it because I'm thinking, do you know what? They believe in themselves. And I like someone that believes in themselves that much. And I like someone that has that reputation of having a personality, of them, saying what they feel, whether I don't, whether it be anything. I like them to be them and to show that. I don't want them to be hidden up, caging themselves in. I want them to be them on that stage, because all the eyes are on you there. Your reputation has got to be whatever you want it to be.
Something like that. The Gallaghers spring to mind
Yeah, I mean,
straight away.
yeah,
And look at them, they were saying, well, whether you like it or not, we're here, we're doing it.
mm,
And they had that, whether you call it confidence or overconfidence or arrogance, at the end of
yeah,
the day, they did it. They're one of the biggest
yeah,
bands of all time. I think that that's a good point that, at the end of the day, it links back to that point you were saying earlier about the idea of a persona. All
mm,
right, maybe the Gallaghers aren't like that behind closed doors. I mean, they
yeah,
fight enough, so they probably are.
yeah,
Um, but they have this persona, and that's what that's
mm,
what's got me mentioning it now.
mm,
That's something that takes them up a level. The fact that, all right, they're household names and they've got great music, but it's also them as artists and as people.
yeah.
And it links back to what you were saying. What are some other habits or mindset that other successful artists tend to have?
I mean, I think that it's a difficult one because when you look at so many artists, I think that again with that sort of personality wise, you don't need to be again arrogant and selfish. I mean, if you look at Olivia Dean, the way that she just kept on trying. I can't remember her age, but she's been going for music. She's been at that record label for a long time. She's been going at music for ages. But when you look at her, you think she's one of the nicest people you'd ever meet, and she is loved. And I think that that's what it is with artists. Again, it's being yourself, but it's also keeping at it. It is no matter what, you if you believe in yourself, you have to keep at it. And that is really what can build. And you have to be good behind the scenes. I know, Taylor Swift is so big that she's nearly impossible to mention. But from everyone that has worked with her, they say that she is just a genius at what she does. She is so clever. She's, extremely good at music, with writing music, but also behind the scenes of music. She is so good, and she's got to know it all. And she doesn't just want to release music. She wants to know the ins and out of releasing music. So that's also a good thing to know, is knowing what's happening with your music. I don't think that when you sign on to a label that you should just let the label do theirs. Be interested in why the label are doing that, why the label have made that decision, or why are we going down that route? Because you sort of get in a habit of learning it all yourself, and then maybe you can help out the label, and maybe you can take your own artistic way into it, and sort of become one with the label. I mean, when you're with a label and you want to be there long term, you want to be involved in the label as well. You don't want it to be, a lot of people make it a label versus artist, but why can't they be together? And they work together to create something. Because I think that's what it should be. Yeah.
And
So
you mentioned Taylor Swift just a second ago there. She's got a very cult following, we'll say that. They're
yeah,
very,
yeah,
very loyal fans. And outside, you say, link back to the behind the scenes and everything, but her team probably understands that the behind the scenes is also these diehard fans creating content. There is these, there's the outfits, there's the images, there's the videos of the tours,
yeah,
there's all this stuff that can be non-social media based. It's not just like, oh, here's a snippet of us in the studio. Whilst that's great, she's got something that goes beyond that. There's a particular style of dress for each album and a
yeah,
particular vibe that goes beyond the album. Would you say that that's something important as well in terms of artist image and working with the label for them to understand that is creating that, I guess, offline ability that
yeah.
is away from social media and working with your label to create that?
Yeah, yeah. I think that, again, that's what, again, Taylor Swift, and there are a lot of artists that do as well. They sort of build that. They sort of build, again, that dress with the album, and that sort of, because when you become a big enough artist, even like if you're getting 500,000 monthly listeners, you're getting noticed down the street, and you've got to take who you are and what your music is. That has got to be you down the street. Do you know? You've got to be nice, and I always think you've got to be nice to fans, and you've got to love fans, because the fans are who keep you doing what you're doing. But you've got to have that sort of offline bit, that when you're not online, you are that person as well. You are who you say you are. You are that nice but a bit arrogant, and if the fans love that, you've got to show that offline, and you've got to sort of keep yourself on. Every artist, you want to be noticed, you want to have that success, but that success comes with basically working on yourself all the time. You have to got to be indulged in it. You have got to be that 24 hours every day. That has got to be you. That artist has got to be you. And if you don't want that, then you can always just do what Daft Punk do, just wear a mask.
But that's another great thing, they're so recognizable. They're so pop. It's a real big pop culture thing, the Daft
Mm,
Punk mask. I
yeah,
remember quite recently they released, the video saying that, I think it was they call it retirement, or
yeah,
they're taking a bit of a hiatus maybe. I hope they're only taking a hiatus
yeah.
because I'm quite a big fan.
I do love Daft Punk.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, well, it's just like, C3PO becomes a DJ.
Yeah.
What's not to like?
I would love to see
Um,
them live. I'd absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's another thing. You mentioned the live shows and stuff, and you authentically connect. I mean, they have a bit of an act that goes with the live show.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
them, they go back and forth with each other, and they say this and that becomes like a social media clip, I guess.
yeah.
This 1 minute, and then you're thinking back about Daft Punk again, and you're thinking, oh, we'll listen to Discovery, we'll listen to, whatever album.
But
Do you
yeah,
think that the jumping on social media trends or that clippability, do you feel like that's super important as well as having the artist identity?
when you're coming up, you've got to want to make your own clips, which is fine. I think it's fine. I think that when you, a lot of people don't realize, but you've got to have someone there that is basically making your clip. You can do it yourself, but if you can get someone that's making the clips for you, and then you set up your own fan pages and have how many you want of them that release these separate clips, and they put how good are these and then try and get it viral on TikTok. That's a great way of doing it. I mean, that's what so many people do, but at the same time, I don't like the artists are sort of in a way click farm by using other people's music sometimes. But I mean, there's sometimes on TikTok you'll see someone that does just a cover which isn't really a cover of someone's song, tries to release it and it gets pulled down because you don't have the rights to use it, and then they'll go, I got pulled down, this is a joke, and you think, well, you don't have the rights to use it. You didn't make that song, someone else made that song, you've just sung a little bit over it. I don't think
That's quite a big topic floating
yeah.
around lately in terms of music, is copyright, intellectual property.
Hmm.
It's obviously super, super important. And, you know, it's become both easier and harder to deal with as an artist. You know, the moment that it's on Spotify, it's out there as basically a registry of things that are copyrighted. It's proven to be yours because you're the first person to release it, and you're
Yeah.
licensed you're down on the system as the writers or the guitar player or whatever it might be. But there is that dark side to it with the AI and everything like that.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of interaction with AI as working in the position that you do with talent scouting? Do you have a lot of people who come across, and have you come across any of these AI artists maybe?
No, I haven't. I think it's hard for me to go into detail because I have just no idea where it can go. I think it's one of them subjects that people in the industry don't talk about because it's quite scary. Do you know when you see the AI artists and I don't really know the rules about it because it's scary, and a lot of people say it is the future, but I don't see it being the future. But at the same time, it's tough because these are people making music for free that isn't them, and they just can release it and it be AI. And I think it's going to get better and better, the AI, as we go on and on and on. And I don't want it to be that AI is releasing music, but we could find ourselves in that time. But I've not bumped into any AI music. I've not bumped into anyone that uses it yet, and I hopefully won't have too many. I don't. Yeah, I don't really want to have AI taking over music as well.
No, I mean, I don't want it either. You know,
Yeah.
Daft Punk is as close to robots as I
Yeah.
want in
Exactly.
music,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
I'm just going to jump into a bit of a different discussion here. How do you think that artist development is going to evolve in the next maybe 5 years, 10 years?
It's tough because when I've been in it a short time, I don't really understand how it evolves. I mean, you understand how it evolves as it goes on. I think that social media will still be as big as it can be. I think that I mean, I don't know. It sort of depends. You know, you look at what's happened the past 20 years, has become social media, and how you have SoundCloud and a lot more people can release music now, and sort of how it's all changed and how the royalties are changing, and how it's becoming a lot more artist friendly for big labels. The changes, I don't really know how it can happen, but change is definitely going to happen. I think that independent labels will become a bit bigger. And within that sort of, I think artist development could I don't know. I mean, I think artists will become a lot more themselves developing than labels developing. I mean, there are already artists that manage themselves and release songs themselves without a label. And there are a lot of people that are starting up sort of, artist management without a label companies that are going, you don't need a label to do this. Why don't you do it yourself? So I don't know if that's something that could take off. And if that does take off, then I'm a bit out of a job. So so hopefully it doesn't. But you never know, do you know? I mean, everything evolves.
Yeah, yeah, everything does change. I think as a sort of a counterpoint maybe to that, there might be a little bit of a resurgence of the idea of a label for the
Mm.
validity, and you guys using the social media
Yeah.
platforms that people can normally use to add that extra level of, we're a signed artist, we're going to offer a more quality product, maybe we've got certain backings. Are there any trends in emergent music right now that you find particularly exciting? Maybe it's that social media thing.
Yeah, I mean, social media, it does excite you. Do you know, I still love I think that live music should I just still love live music. I think that that's something that weirdly, I think it was huge 25 years ago, and it's still huge now. And that's something that I wouldn't want to lose. And that, in 30 years' time, you still want to have that feel of going to a pub in London where there's this band that doesn't really have any following playing, and there are lots of people listening to it. And that's something that I wouldn't want to go down. So I know a lot of the independent sort of pubs in around London that play music, they struggle to get in money. So that's something that could evolve and change in the next 20 years, which would be awful if it can. But I'd want to see music. I'd want to see the trend of music in that sort of bands and that hunger within bands continue to grow. I think that sort of indie and alternative music, I think it is still on a growth, and you're seeing so much more coming through now, as well as I think that house music, and I think DJs are evolving incredibly well, and they're becoming such a big sort of market for them, and they're becoming commercially a lot better. I think that now you've got Josh Baker. I mean, he is like, I know he's not huge. He's not, Calvin Harris, but he is all over. If you're on TikTok and you're our age, that's all you see, do you know? As well with Chris Dussy, and you see him at the Wales Project and how amazing that looked. So I think that weirdly, DJs were popular in the 90s with house music, and it's coming back up and massively getting popular now, especially how
I
it's
mean, I
tech
think
house.
about, tech house, D&B has been on the rise for
Yeah,
about 10, 15 years
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah,
Coming, like, it's always existed.
yeah.
But massive resurgence.
I think you look at Chasing
Jungle,
Status,
yeah,
first
yeah.
drum and bass to get England -- was your first drum and bass sub tune. I mean, Sub Focus is huge and commercial. I mean,
Wilkinson,
yeah,
Wilkinson.
yeah. It's grow. That side of it is growing hugely. And I think raves are getting, they are growing in popularity. And you see a lot of sober raves now. Something that you never
Yeah,
thought was
because
going to
people just
happen.
want to go for the music. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
because it does have a bit of a culture surrounding it, but that is coming in the concept of
yeah.
the sober rave. Do you feel like that's another development? People are just wanting to go to enjoy music.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I do. It's a weird one because you always see on the news that we're getting less healthy as a country, but then you see so much of people getting healthier. I think people now drink less than they used to. I think that pub culture is still there, and pub culture will always be there, but it's declining. I think now a lot of people want, love a rave in summer. I think that when you've got house music and you're just having a couple drinks, I think that it's something that is going to grow and will keep growing because it's a great time and people love it and people are there for the music, people are there for the artists. I think DJs now are building, they're building fans around them, fans that love them. Probably wasn't there 20 years ago. And I think that especially how it's there for the DJ, and when you're there, a lot more people appreciating the skills of DJ.
So for any listeners who want to work in A&R or the music industry as a whole, what is the best way to get started?
I think the best way, again, live shows. I think live shows is huge. I think that emailing in and talking to people and trying your best to talk to people, just emailing companies, seeing if there are any options available. I think also another way is to look at if there's anyone that you can maybe just help out with management. That doesn't mean become their manager, but that means very small artists that you may meet or you may hear, and they don't have a manager that you can say, listen, I'm trying to learn the industry. And what do you guys need help with? And I can try and help as much as I can. Whether that be marketing or whether that maybe do some art for them or anything, trying that and try and get a little bit of experience and see how stuff works, or just ask if you can go in and just help them out. It doesn't have to, you're probably going to have to do it for free because at the start of it, it's all for free. You put a lot of hours in and not for any money, but you get it in and it ends up, you will earn money from it. So I think that it's sort of the best ways is just getting involved. I think that's one thing I've learned is just chuck yourself in the deep end sometimes, because if you will always be able to swim out of there, no matter how deep you get, you will.
I think that's a really nice sort of phrase there.
Yeah, no,
If you're in the deep end, you'll always be able to swim out. I've not heard anyone say that before.
no, I've
Um,
not heard myself say that before. It just came out and I was like, yeah, yeah.
Very profound, very profound. And finally, what should people keep an eye on from Origins Inclusive in the near future? Is there any projects in the timeline?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There are a couple projects. Yeah, I mean, helping me sort of. We're looking at sort of building a separate label that they're helping me build, and could be working on something huge there, which could be focusing more into indie music. So that could be an interesting update for me. It's just working on that. So yeah, there could be huge stuff coming out there. Yeah. So could be huge news, and could be great growth. I mean, I hope to see that this is a huge year for us.
Brilliant stuff. Jerry, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, that was great.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to hear more from the music industry, local sounds, and how the industry works, check out our page at Line In Network on Instagram. Make sure to like, subscribe, and let us know what you thought about today's episode down in the comments. Tune in next time where we'll be speaking to Brett Shaw, the man behind Clean Bandit, Lady Gaga, Queens of the Stone Age, and more. Tune in next time to hear from Brett Shaw, the Grammy Award-winning producer behind acts like Florence and the Machine, Bowls, and Clean Bandit. Thanks for watching. And Clean Bandit. Thanks for watching.